immediately saw a huge improvement in Dubai, mentioning that racket switch. I remember switching to the racket, and the very first feeling that I had was, "This is it. This is exactly the racket I should be playing with," because I instantly felt the confidence kick in my backhand side. My return suddenly improved massively. I've had these discussions with many members of my team how such small change suddenly had an increase in my confidence and the way I felt on the court, which ultimately was a great decision from my end. I was talking about this switch for about 2 years before it happened, and I remember having a conversation after a U.S. Open loss with one of my team members that is on the analytics part. I remember talking to him and saying I should probably switch to that one particular racket because I feel like it can really benefit my game. Well, 2 years down the road, I took that decision after having a horrible loss in Doha, a loss that I'm not used to, a loss that cost me a lot because I felt like I was physically prepared. I literally did everything right. I've been preparing and practicing for so long and taking the right steps, following the right direction to kind of improve my game and see certain aspects of my game grow. But it seemed like I was really going backwards for a few months now in a row. So I just decided to pull the trigger and do that, to proceed with that. It kind of surprisingly, like, one would imagine that going for such a change would require you a few weeks to get adjusted to and to acclimatize to something like this, because for professional tennis players, this is quite a big change. You're used to hold the same stick for so many years. You're used to this same dance pattern for all your life, and suddenly you're just going from one extreme to the other. It is a very strange sensation, but to me it clicked naturally. I remember picking it up for the very first time, going to practice and feeling refreshed in my mind. It was such a refreshing feeling, knowing that I can suddenly gain in power and spin and net clear and all of those things. I felt very confident, and I knew that that was the right decision for me. Obviously, months later down the road, I decided to go back to my previous pattern, which was the Wilson blade that I've been using for so many years, just because I felt like it performed much better on clay. I had a discussion with one of the ex-professional tennis players that now works as a manager and an agent, and he told me that I'm not actually insane to think that, because he's had the same dilemma when he played himself on the tour. Um, Part of the equipment that he was using felt better on hard courts, and then the same type of equipment didn't feel as good on clay, where you have to kind of open up the court a little bit more and play different angles than on hard courts. Serve wasn't as good with the previous equipment that I was using, and I felt like I needed some of my elements that I was delivering at the best when playing on clay. Kind of, I needed that identity back. So that is also the reason I decided to go back to something that I feel like serves as a comfort zone mainly.
Do you think we're moving towards a situation where players are changing their setups depending on like what you're describing here with surfaces and speeds and conditions? Because it's like what you said in the past. Like for example, I play with the pro staff now. I played with it many years when I was young. I moved away from it for a little bit, and now I'm with the pro staff again. But I can't imagine just picking up a racket and changing it
Yeah.
because I'm going next week indoor fast or hard courts, and then next week outside clay. Do you think we're moving towards that in the tennis game, or is that at least where you see your game going? Could that be a case where you change setups based on the speed and surfaces?
I would have never imagined that myself, to be honest with you. And I know I was never a player that was too picky with equipment and rackets, but I knew that my game had to evolve somehow. I I was just a little bit, I would say, fed up having to muscle my ball every single time I played, and that was something that I was dealing with for quite a while. I felt like I had to literally put a 110% into my shot every single time, and dealing with some elbow issues, some shoulder issues. Obviously, my lower back, which forced me to retire from the Nito finals and some other tournaments later on. Things like that, obviously, they add on later, and they make you reconsider what you're using and how you're training and all of those things. And immediately when I want to go back to that switch that I made, I immediately when I went back to that particular setup that I started using, I never felt my arm again. I felt no pain anywhere in my body, and it was kind of shocking to see that much of a difference instantly within a month. I felt like a healthy individual. I felt like a healthy player. Um, I would have never imagined I would have gone through a phase like that, because it was, in a way, enlightening to feel that, and refreshing to feel that as a player, because I felt like every single time I went to practice, it felt like, mainly, I would say, like a torture instead of a pleasure. And I had a lot of those moments where it felt like I literally had to destroy myself every single time I had to go out and play. That's exactly how it felt.
So before you made the big switch, did you try any smaller adjustments like different strings, different patterns, different tensions?
I absolutely did. Nothing seemed to kind of uh, narrow down to what I was exactly looking for.
Okay.
So it was sort of there, but not entirely. You have a specific sort of idea of what you're looking for in terms of power and spin. Both feel kind of more dead these days. I don't feel like I'm getting as much of an effect out of my shot as I used to years ago. And players have also been quite vocal about it. I remember like hearing some other players speaking about how the balls and how the courts have gotten slower, and now you have to kind of double up on the work to win the same point that you've been able to before. And I understand it. I can see it with my own eyes. I had a discussion with one of the main guys at Wilson recently, and where I literally understood it even better is when he told me that in the last 5 years, I haven't had a single player of ours come to me and say, "I'm looking for more control." Every single player that I'm working with has at some point come to me and said, I'm seeking for more power and I'm seeking for more spin out of my shot." And he said, we used to see that trend more in the past, where players would come to me and ask me for more control, but this is thrown out the window now. It's non-existent.
Thanks
So
for watching this
the
clip. If you want to watch the full episode, the link is in the description down below.